Mind the culture.
Mind your
Culture
culture.
in
My
your
culture.
mind.
Culture in
Culture
mind.
and mind.
This is the podcast for the culture.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Mind Culture Podcast. Today I'm talking with the one and only Willi Dorner, a multimedia artist from Vienna, a choreographer and visual artist, photographer, and many, many more. Yesterday, he was supposed to have a performance that unfortunately was cancelled, but he's gonna tell us about this performance. He's gonna tell us about the touring experience. He's gonna tell us about the essence of dancing and choreography. And this conversation is possible thanks to the kindest support of Superar space in Broadfabrik Kulturhaus, which is the new cultural center in Vienna. We have a chance to use this space to record here. Please check out the location because they do interesting programs every day. This podcast is possible thanks to BMKS Austria, as well as is part of European Erasmus Plus project Viral Visions. I think that's it what I have to say for the introduction. So let's begin the conversation. So Willi Dorner, thank you so much for coming. It's really awesome to have you here. I know you came especially to Vienna to be with us, and we are very grateful that you're with us. I know you're supposed to have a performance yesterday, and it, of course, unfortunately didn't happen because of the situation. The performance is very related to the situation, but I would love to hear from you. If I cannot experience the performance, if I can only experience it in my head, what would I experience if I went to the theater?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a solo in a video installation, and it's a very simple setup. It's a closed circuit. The performer is in front of a video camera or behind a video camera. The light is a selfie ring light and the video projector, and we need a white wall for the projection and for having a neutral background. And it should remind us in the situation that we all actually now I have to say all were in, not it's even not half a year ago, or now again we are in the third lockdown. And it's about the communication through media to the world, or to our friends that we are not allowed to see anymore. I mean, the situation interested me already before.
Yes.
The way of communicating via video and sound, and the lockdown was just an extra push now to do the piece, in fact, because it's not only about this locked-in situation, but it's the how we deal with this medium, video, or with the digital communication. I think I would like to stress this more than the situation of the lockdown.
Yes, I think it's really interesting, and also like it changes a lot how we operate, like as makers or as artists, but also as people. And I think there is a certain kind of sensitivity definitely in that we maybe as people working with the movement and working with like this direct communication in the performance space. So it's like I imagine the performance space as like you still watch something, but you also feel the other person, whereas like if you watch a video you just see the other person. And I just think that it is interesting to kind of artistically refer to that or like question that. And I'm wondering what is the role of the digital media in your life? What is the role of social networks, or maybe YouTube, or maybe video kind of content in your own? How does it affect your own life? because I know that you've been probably very present also in the era where this wasn't as prominent, so you experienced the shift, and I'm wondering like how does it affect you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the older generation, you know. How it affected me is I had to learn, you know. For me, it's even harder, you know. The generation grew up already with a mobile phone. They take it more for granted to have the thing with them, and they learn it easily, you know, because it's a tool. They play with the tool. I do not play with the tool. I use it to make a phone call, but I don't play around, you know. And so I had to learn step by step how to record a video, how to send it, how to connect it with I don't know, with Facebook, Instagram, you know, and all this social media that came up. You know, how can you link all these informations? You know, for me, this is actually work. I have to say, it's actually work, because I'm this generation that didn't grow up with it. You know, I still prefer to read a newspaper, and I like to have the newspaper in my hand, or to read a book and have the book in my hand. So I'm, yeah, but you know, there is no way around. You know, I cannot just block and say no, I don't use it. You know, because then you are cut off, then you're totally isolated.
Right.
You know, and this is the problem. You know, so you have to learn, you have to stay open-minded, you know, and follow, you know, that's the thing. And but to come back to the pieces, because I did also a piece before, also in a video installation, what interests me is the presence of the body, of the action of the performer, and the projection, however it is produced, or is it prefabricated, you know. Because this is what we experience now, or the generation, you know, because all these young people, they produce all the videos, all the photos, you know, and they send it. So they are aware of, so they are bodies, human beings, and also they think at the same time virtually, like virtually, in the sense that they produce images, you know, and this contrast interests me, because also in Figure and in the other piece, in One, in the table piece, you can watch the performer, how she produces images, and how also they manipulate images, and it's prefabricated on the one hand, but it's also live, and so it also shows the borderline of life and fake, creating like utopias, you know, wishes that are transferred or expressed by images.
So what I find interesting is so that you use the medium of choreography and performance creation as some sort of way to communicate this kind of philosophical question. So there is a philosophical question about what is real, what is fake, and also like how do we extend our bodies, if I understand you correctly, to just not think of our bodies present in the space at the moment as ourselves, but also our bodies projecting images that then they can get transmitted.
We want to be present somewhere else at the same time.
Yeah.
And the piece called Figure, the solo, is about this being torn in myself, you know, because I'm here looking at my phone, produce an image, produce a short video, or send a text, or speak a text and send a WhatsApp. So, and want to be also at the same time somewhere else, you know. There is this two halves, you know. We are here, but we are not here. And the piece points this out, you know, a kind of Zerrissenheit in German, you know, being torn apart, you know. I'm here, but I'm not really here. And this is what I realize, you know, when I watch these youngsters that are really like constantly on the phone, you know. Where are they? or where are we when we use this? You know, are we still? We are not only here, but we are also not there. We want to be there, and it's also about time. The piece shows the time. You know, because there is a delay in the video. You know, it's not really in the video. You are not really exactly at the same time.
Yeah, there's
over
always
there.
a delay.
There's a delay
because
you know?
the computers are not
there
never
is
as fast.
There's and we are between, and this I show in the piece. We are between the after and the before. So is this the present? The present, you know. Actually, it could be philosophically be interesting. You know, what is the present? You know, that it points actually at the question, what means now present?
And so you kind of imposing maybe a little bit or suggesting that maybe present today is delayed a little bit, because if we live so much in the digital, then we are kind of always a little bit delayed.
Then we are always delayed, you know.
Yeah. Could you tell me, because this is all interesting, but could you tell me from your experience, do you think this kind of work can resonate with what you refer to as young people, or is it the kind of work that you need a certain kind of experience that is shared with you? So experience of not being in the technology in order to see, you know, the technology from outside, or if you're immersed, can you even acknowledge what you're talking about?
I mean, the piece is actually the idea is the concept I developed, but it's actually the outside view. Because I'm not, I mean, of course I send also videos or photos, but I'm not not constantly, you know, dealing with it. I honestly, I try to avoid it, you know.
Yeah.
Because I don't like this fast changes, you know. And I feel, you know, the older I get, I hate it, you know. This is because this is quite it takes energy and also focus, concentration. So it's actually the view of the older generation on something that is happening now. But I worked with a young composer, and also the video man I worked with is also, he's not that young anymore, but he's specialized in this. And so we had quite interesting discussions while we developed the piece together. And also it helps me. Yeah, it was quite a nice debate between us, and in the performances, because I showed the piece already in summer, in the summer festival. There were quite young people, and they enjoyed it.
How did they react?
They really liked it, you know. They could understand.
Great. So that big success in that way. Okay, tell me a little bit about images, because
I have one thing. It just came up because maybe I mentioned this because when we talked about presence, because I like to work with blind people.
Okay.
And I did an audio guide for a museum in Switzerland this year, and through this blind person. I know him for many years now. I involved him also in another project years ago. I always understand what presence means, because for him he's always here. You know, when he sits somewhere, this is really quite interesting, because when you leave him alone and say, you know, I'll be back in a minute, I need to pick up something, he's exactly there where he was when I left him. And he's not checking, or almost not checking, his mobile phone, you know, because for him, the world is where he is, you know. A blind person always makes me understand what it means to be here and now.
So I mean, there is this thing that, was it like, I think it's 70 or 80% of perception in space comes from the vision. And once you don't have the vision, then you have to rely on the other senses. And I have the feeling that if we get stuck to the phones so much, then of course we mess it with it so much. So if we mess with the perception of ourselves in space, and then probably as consequence we mess with the presence, I imagine. So I think it's really interesting that you say that the blind person is more present.
Because he's so depending
Yeah.
on ears, you know,
Mm-hmm.
on the sound. So he's really strongly focusing on sound and also on and then the other senses like temperature, smell.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of blind people, I had an experience myself back in the time in Linz to be teaching movement classes, dance actually, to a blind association of Upper Austria, and I had a big misconception about them because I always thought a blind person would have a perfect understanding of the body, of their own body and the space around them, but it wasn't always the case. So I don't know. I think what I wanted to say is it's interesting that you talk about the presence that evolves, but do you think that there is also a better understanding of the body with a blind person?
Because
or
for the blind person, it's always when I would be blind, I sit here.
Mm-hmm.
So the space, I'm in the center of the space.
Yes.
I'm here. I sit here, and the space is for me, around me. Because with my eyes, I can also, I can fly away, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And also my vision also gives me impressions of the space. You know, we have so many images that he doesn't have.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because and this is also the development of these days, you know, that we have so many visions or you know, because we saw so many films and photos. So I can imagine this space from a CCTV cam that is in this corner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can imagine us sitting through the eyes, through the lens of a camera that is in the corner, diagonally up there over the entrance.
Yes, because we have seen it, so we understand how it looks from outside.
Yeah, we have so many, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and the blind person doesn't have that, you know. So we are also distracted. It takes us away from where I am, my starting point. This is point 0.
Mm-hmm.
For a blind person, where he sits is always point 0. And this is for me, this is very strong, you know, this, because this is also connected to this to understand what it means to be present.
Mm-hmm. So this is quite exciting that you, how to say, over so many years still able to find something interesting in choreography and something interesting in art making. Maybe you could tell me a little bit from the beginning, maybe, but how your artistic interest, what you're looking for while making the works, how has it been changing? So has there been like a topic that has been present throughout your whole artistic life, or has there been periods where you were concentrating now on this and then on this or on this, or is it really about a specific project? So does it link to a project, or is it something that you really try to discover and follow and experience and explore, and that maybe does changes or maybe stays the same?
I mean, there's one topic that influenced me a lot. This is and this is actually what we also talked just before, is the contrast between visual perception and body presence. Because when I started to leave Austria, when I finished the conservatory, I got in touch with Mark Tompkins. He's an American that lives in Paris. Now we can say he's a French choreographer, and he worked at that time a lot on visual perception and on body presence. And body presence for me at that time was, I was focusing a lot on contact improv as a technique to give another experience to your body besides the normal dance techniques. And I liked to work this because we also to work on this because we worked with cameras. We learned to make like short, now we would say like Instagram clips, you know. We did short videos with cameras, with hand camera, you know. And I like to work a lot with hand camera, and to point out this contrast between physical experience and visual experience. And then, of course, I left this topic because I said to myself I have to focus on dance. I did very classical choreography on stage, but I wasn't very satisfied with this kind of work because I was always a bit more open-minded, not just to focus on movement and do choreographies and to break up the situation. I said to myself I have to learn a new maybe dance technique or something else, and then I started to do Alexander technique. And I became Alexander Technique teacher, which is a 3-year program, which is very intensive, Monday through Friday, and this changed me a lot.
Can you tell me a little bit what Alexander Technique is?
Alexander Technique is actually a preventing method. It's not like, I would say, not like a healing method. I mean, it can help to support the healing process, but it's more preventing. It is a technique that you understand how your body is, let's say, works the best for sitting, standing, walking. It's very simple. It tries to discover or to detect tensions in your body, and these tensions have to do with a wrong posture in sitting, posture probably in standing, the way you stand up, the way you carry something, the way you put a coat on, you know, all these movements everybody does in daily life, you know. But it helps to understand because it regulates your body tension. So you discover the imbalances in your body. You know, there's maybe, I mean, most of the tensions are in the neck. People have neck, or in the back, because we do more and more sitting work, and people don't understand, or they understand way too late when they already like have really back problems or neck problems.
When they're molded into a certain posture that is becoming more and more permanent.
Because this is their routine, you know. The thing is that you also, and through this you learn more about your routines, movement routines, because this is also a training, you know. Even you know, this is a train to a bad habit is a good training, you know. You trained your body to move in a bad way, you know.
I used to do a lot of I mean, I still am a big believer in Feldenkrais, and when I did my dance education, because I couldn't understand my body, like you were talking about the presence, I was talking about now body awareness, so I couldn't really know where my limbs were actually in space. So in the end, I couldn't really learn properly to memorize and repeat the dance materials that I had in the university. So in order to do that, I needed to figure out a way to connect a little bit better with my body. And I found out that this kind of deep, some people call it somatic work, which Alexander is a variation, it's one version of it. I kind of wanted to do Feldenkrais, and I was doing every day before the before the studies. Every day I did, and every day I did it, I just got a little bit better, and all the classes I did perfectly. Like I was so present also, and also so in my body that I would recommend to everyone. But then over the years, and then of doing it, like I decided, okay, now maybe it's enough, and I progressed to learning something new. Like I progressed to learn breakdance then, because I wanted to experience now. Okay, now I was tension free, and now I wanted to experience how can you actually tense your bodies to tense your body to achieve something completely different, also artistic but different, not in a healthy way, but different. But I remember that it really, really, really changed me and helped me a lot, big time, to do this. And I know that Alexander technique is similar. But maybe coming back to the train of thought we had before. So you said that you did the Alexander training, and then how did you continue choreographically?
And also, as you were talking now about your experience, what it changed in you, it also changed me.
Yes.
That's the thing, you know, it questioned me, what I did, but also in a way also improved me. But it was my whole life that I did before I got questioned, you know, and I got more open mind. It opened me up, you know, because with the relaxation in the body, you know, as you start to balance your tension in your body, also it opens your mind as well.
This is kind of immediately directly links to your early work and your last work, which is about like the image and the presence. I mean, I see it
In a way,
connected.
yes. But
Yeah.
at that time, I did a stage piece with performers or dancers. It was a very dancey piece in a way, me including. But they had really special bodies and also a special way of moving, and and this is one of my favorite pieces. It's called Maisie, from the English word maze, you know, because when you start to go into this subject-object relationship, it's like you open up, or you open up the door to a maze, you know, because you go into yourself to understand yourself, and this is like a labyrinth, you know. Is there a way out, or in another word, is there a result that I can be happy with,
Or even a way in.
or is it a lifelong research, you know, a lifelong walk in a labyrinth, you know.
Right. Yeah, that's really interesting. So phenomenology, and then?
I mean, this, and there's another important topic in phenomenology. This is spatiality, so space, and how we can perceive space. And actually, this focus I started after 4 or 5 years on working on perception. And actually, I'm still stuck to it in a way, you know. It's one of the tracks that I'm still following. And I did urbanistic works in different locations. And one of the side products in one of the locations was the idea of bodies in urban spaces. This was in 2004. It started as a photo project. And 2 years later, I was invited by the Polytechnical University in Barcelona to speak about my urbanistic work. So work I did in a residential building or in a market in UK, for example. And they gave me a carte blanche. They said, you can have a 2 weeks residency. Would you like to work on something? And then I worked on the bodies photos that were inside and were only photos, and I tried to transform it into a performance. And I got a group of dancers. They helped me to develop it. And so
this is where
the birth of bodies was in Barcelona, actually, after residency. And it was shown in an outdoor festival, and it was actually a big mess. So it was not a success at all, because you have to imagine there were 500 people coming, and there were bodies stuck somewhere, and they expected that they get up and start to dance. It was really funny.
And they were only looking at the pictures
and
in a way.
and it didn't happen. So people left, and at the end there were, I don't know, 20 people left when the trail was finished. Can you imagine?
Yeah, this is amazing because this is like, I mean, when I say Willi Dorner, I think immediately Bodies in Urban Space. Like this is like your most recognizable work, and maybe even, I don't know, but I make a wild claim now. Could be even a foundation of your international recognition. In a way, it's like, it's whenever I say Willi Dorner, whenever I say Austrian choreographer, Willi Dorner, Bodies in Urban Space, like that's it. That's the
it became a trademark, But before I was also touring, stage pieces.
Yeah.
But I found out through Bodies that the dance world is actually very small. It's really a small segment, Even when you are touring internationally, it doesn't have the same awareness, or presence in medias, and through Bodies, you are present in so many fields, because because the media print photos, show videos, and its presence in architecture, in fine arts, in photography, in design, in fashion. In all these fields, the work radiated out,
But isn't it kind of sad that you had to take away the dancing part in order to promote dance?
Yeah, I mean, it's
I mean, it's still a great work to see, and I would love to come and see it. But it's almost like it's painful to hear that, because it can be it's static, so it can be reproduced in different static media, and therefore it also can be popular in those different media. But it's a little bit sad because I don't know, shouldn't choreography be also? I mean, for me, I associate choreography with movement also.
Yeah, I mean, well, if this is my definition of choreography. It is the arrangement of bodies and objects in time and space.
Right.
So this is This is very simple, in fact. So it is a choreography, because I had a discussion, for example, with the ministry, with one of the officers in the ministry. Because when she saw Bodies, she said, "This is not choreography." And then I said, "It is choreography," and I told her the definition.
Yeah.
But for her, it is to be on stage, to have lights, to have props, and and you have people moving, But what is very sad is that I realized that dance is still not so popular.
Yes.
That it is really, it is really a small segment, even in art,
Yes.
And with this project, that it was like a big bang, it was a big explosion, and I had so many offers for years, and it's still going on. I mean, it's like now 15 years.
Wow.
And it's just like, I did fashion shootings as well, because they liked me to arrange bodies for or openings with big companies like Moncler or Hermes, or fashion shootings in London, in Milano, and then I give talks in architecture, big events like the Bund Deutscher Architekten, BDA. This is like the crème de la crème in architecture. I was there with Jan Gehl in a symposium, invited along with Jan Gehl, which is a famous architect, or like for the university in Paris for architecture, École de Supérieure d'Architecture, or different schools in architecture or in fine arts.
So tell me, What what do they want from you? Like when they invite you to do a talk, or when they invite you to work for them, for the Hermes, for example, like what do they expect from you? Like what is the thing that they want?
No, they what they want is actually, it was for a big opening in Milano for the furniture fair,
Hmm.
Salone di Mobile. They said, do your work, but do it during our opening. Because you have to imagine, like Hermes builds, they build a little village in a ballet in Milano. The ballet is huge, you know, and they build a little village into this space, so people can walk around like in an African village, and then here and then an action pops out.
So it's almost like they want some sort of promotion, so to attract people to their own products in a way. So this is like art becoming a promotional tool.
Yeah, but it's yes and no,
Hmm.
because they want to have in the opening they want to have a specific spirit, you know. It should be like because they also want their products to be part of an art world, you know, and they want to be it on the same level, you know, with art. It should be, it shouldn't be like a cheap entertainment, you know. It's it should have a certain spirit, you know?
Okay, but they wouldn't invite someone just like a choreographer, local choreographer that just started doing. They invited you. So in a way, like, so does this follow like already? So did this appear only after you have been recognized internationally, right?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
a consequence. So first you have like you have been touring in many countries, and then the
It needs to
name
be
is
seen.
yes.
You know,
Yep.
it's in, I don't know, you know, you name it. You know, it's all the magazines, right? You know, we would like to publish your photos. You know, it's Art Press as well as a Brigitte. You know, the magazine for women. You know, I mean, all the whole range. You know. Because I had to laugh, you know. I mean, yeah, okay, publish it, you know, but it's really strange, you know, that you get a request from Brigitte, you know,
Yeah.
this woman magazine, and then from Art Press, you know, where you do an interview with a curator, you know. It's like
It's a big
it's two
spectrum.
it's two worlds, you know. But no, but these companies, they always work with artists, because I did, for example, for Montclair, I did a row of photos with special design they develop. They even don't sell it, you know, this design, and it's for the opening of the fashion week. So it's only photos, but they always invite different artists to do this row sequences of photos, and they open it in a gallery.
Okay. And then after bodies, are you able to continue developing other kinds of works, or was it already
Yes.
difficult from then?
It is very difficult.
Yeah.
I worked hard to do something else, you know? I mean, I did several projects, and I like them as bodies, you know. But it's really hard, you know, because when you have once this stamp or this trademark on you, it's hard to get rid of it.
Yeah, that's what I would think.
But in a way, look, when you look at Wim van de Keibus, you know, the work. I have a friend, he was in the company in the early days, and I remember when they did the first two pieces, that was really a big bang for Wim. They did another piece, which was totally different. They had one show in Vienna and one show in Hamburg, he told me, and then the piece was in the drawer, because Wim van de Keibus did something different. And when you look at his work, you know, how much did he develop in his artistic work, you know? And I think this is a big problem when you have to deal with a market, you know, because when you work as an artist, you deal with a market.
Yeah,
And
tell me more about this.
the market wants you to be this successful person, and with this product, this is the market.
And then you make iterations of the same product. They call them different names, but they follow the what people want.
What Wim
from
does,
you.
yes, you know, but it's always the choreography. You know, he can do a piece on, I don't know, the bears in Romania, which he showed this summer, but it's about the choreography, you know, the style, you know. And this is the problem, you know. And for me, it's you know, when you get in touch, when the first years when Bodies had started, I did also, of course, I did new pieces because you know, you get funding, and for the funding you have to do projects. When they contact you, say, what are you working on? And you tell them, and then they look at the homepage and, no, we want Bodies.
Oh no.
Yeah, you understand? Because
Yes. Okay. So
I mean, it's not only like this. I mean, you have partners, they also show them the following pieces. Of course, you know.
so have you been able to repeat or even come close to the recognition you get with Bodies with anything else?
No, this is actually, it's actually Bodies, you know.
And have you been able to actually tour with other works?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
No, but it doesn't have the same media presence, of course, because again, I'm back in the little corridor, you know, in the where dance is happening, which is different, you know.
So if I wanted to repeat your success, what would I do? Like, what do I have to include in my work, or how do I have to strip it down in order for it to be available for those different kind of markets or different kind of media? What do you think? Because you did it yourself, and maybe you've seen other examples.
I mean, it was not my intention
Yes.
to be so successful, you know. That's the other thing, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bodies idea has a strong artistic concept, but is also very visual and is very simple in a way. I don't use music. I don't need lights. I mean, I need bodies. I need people, you know, in order to show it. But that's it. Because sometimes for some organizers, it's like, wow, yes, no problem, you know, when they hear no lights, no music, and you know, it's but so the work is, or let's say that in another way, it's accessible for so many people, because for others it's only a nice photo and they don't think very much about it, unfortunately, and for others in fine arts or in architecture, they see more in it, you know. And it came also from a deeper concept, you know, but the product is very visual, and we live in times of vision. That's the thing, you know. So I cannot tell you, like, I cannot offer you now a concept with
No,
which
I'm
you
not
get
looking for a concept. I'm looking for a strategy for a concept.
It should be in days like this. It should
Yeah.
be very visual, accessible.
And I guess simple and easy to repeat, I imagine.
Yeah, but the thing was, when I started to do it, it was very hidden. I didn't have in mind, when I did it in Barcelona, people were like, why is she over there in the back, you know? Or some moments they didn't even see, you know, when they walked, because people don't look so much when they walk their own city, you know. So in a way it was a very hidden project. I didn't even have it in mind, you know, to be so accessible, you know.
Wow.
That's the thing.
Yeah, I'm really actually I'm amazed by the popularity of it, of course. and I'm also really happy that I was actually able to take part in it in Linz, and it was fun. It was a lot of hard work. I remember, because once you're like,
How was your body?
once you have people stuck on top of you, it starts to become more and more heavy. And I do remember this very well.
You were in one of the stacks or piles.
Yeah, and of course on the bottom because of my
I
size.
is always the man.
Yeah.
I know. I in the early days I was also in it. I know what it means.
But yeah, it was
Were
fun.
you in this one when we did a photo at Bestsäule? You
Yeah.
remember? You were also there?
You mean in
The
Lentos?
poster, poster. We did a poster for the festival in Linz.
Yes, but was it in the Lentos?
No, it was the one, the big square in Linz, and there's the Bestsäule,
Yes.
the Baroque.
I don't think. No.
Because this was it was quite hard for them because
Yeah.
it was a special moment. I had to arrange for the poster.
Yeah, I remember being in the Lentos behind the glass.
Behind the glass.
That was for me the worst because there was
Really?
like literally people you are between the wall and the glass, so there is like I don't know 60 centimeters, and then you're stuck there, and then there are people on top of you, on top of you, on top of them, on top of them. It's like it was.
And the breathing, I remember, because it was quite a limited space.
And then Willi came to you and say, "Hold it for 5 minutes while people enter, and then run to another position and hold it for 5 minutes." That was it's quite a thing.
Yeah, that's very often what people don't understand.
Yeah.
That is the change, between the running and this still position.
So I mean, in this way, I would argue it is movement, even though it's a movement. Let's say when you really zoom out and you see it, maybe in fast tempo, then there is movement because there is position 1, then there's position 2, so there's movement in between. But still, yeah, there's no obvious movement like in a piece of Wim van de Keibus. Yeah. Okay. So has there been any focus? I know you've been working with photo already before bodies. Of course, it came from a photo, and I know you've been working with photo also after. And I have the feeling that both photo and video play quite a significant role in your work.
Yeah,
Could
also
you tell me about it?
my wife is architecture photographer. I mean, she studied photography, but is focusing on architecture photography, and we always discuss how can we document or make documentations of buildings, because there's architects that don't like anything in an image. The space have to be empty once it is finished, once it is built.
Mhm.
There shouldn't be any signs of life in it. And then there is architects, they like, that people already had moved in. You see tables are not cleaned. There's life in it.
Mhm.
And my wife also tends to this second version, that because architecture is made for human beings.
Supposedly.
You should see life in it. And so it means also, can there be bodies? In school, when she photographs schools, there should be children running around. To see how vivid the space is. And we developed a special project for the open house architecture in Vilnius to do a documentation on a building, a brutalistic building of the early 70s.
Which building?
It's the sports stadium in Vilnius, and it will be taken away in maybe 3-4 years. So we did they asked us to do a documentation, and we use bodies, but this time not in the bodies urban space manner or style. I worked with a fashion designer, and we created references to the constructivismus, the Russian constructivism in the 20s, in the style of their outfit, and we we made a documentation of the inside of the building with the help of these bodies in fashioned up bodies in space. And we put all the photos outside on the building so people can see the inside of the building because it will soon be taken away. With the help of the bodies, with the help of the way they are dressed. So we create the project is called Building Narratives. So we also create a narrative on the building. And it's a sequence of photos, of 25 photos on the outside of the building, because you're not allowed to go in. And it's hopefully also a documentation, a way of documenting a building and not simply like photograph an empty, rotten building.
I always find it interesting. I mean, I myself, like, I come from Poland, so, and I'm very familiar with the brutalist architecture, let's put it like this. And I kind of love it. And I always find it very sad when it gets demolished, because somehow the modernism, I mean, although they used prefabricates and cheap materials, so that's why those buildings often cannot stand just for very long. But those buildings has been like some kind of venue or avenue for expressing the wildest architectural ideas. So they're usually extremely interesting and exciting constructions. From my point of view, I really love to look at them. I don't always love how it feels inside or next to them, but I always really enjoy them from a purely aesthetical point of view. And I'm just wondering if you have any kind of attraction like this in yourself, whether it's for this style or any style.
You mean in brutalistic buildings?
Yes.
I like the rawness of the material, honestly. So there is wood. When there is wood, then is wood, or there is concrete in its rawness. This is what I like, the honesty in using the material, and not so much also like the postmodern building is they're covering up, the building structure. So they pretend to be something else,
Right.
And I like this honesty,
Yeah, I think I can relate to that. And also, like, I guess if you work with the body in this way, it's also very honest. So I guess if you do Alexander technique, it's also very honest in this way. It's very pure.
Very pure, yeah. This is also what is like a trademark of my piece, because especially when I worked on this, I did this architecture trilogy. It is very. An American journalist said to me once, "It is very austere," and this is true, So it's simple, minimal, This is what I like, that. Because I'm also attracted to minimal art in a way. This is one of my favorite.
Yeah, I can relate to this.
Art streams or styles.
Yeah, I always really loved Dan Flavin. He was the exhibition in Vienna a few times.
Yeah.
Really, really love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me a little bit, and I know, so let's say you started evolving as an artist once you traveled and you met your collaborators or your friends, you said in France. So and then you have had a lot of experience of working internationally and showing your work internationally. So I'm wondering, I mean, it's obvious, probably you've experienced a lot of learning or evolving situations. So I'm just wondering if you could tell me, what is your relationship with touring? What is your relationship with being in other places? Is it important? What can you learn? Has there been interesting situation that happened to you that just stay? And has there been some things that influenced your work for later?
Well, there's two kind of tourings, I would say. There's this kind of touring, you do a piece, it's successful, and then you tour it, you show it. You go to Holland, you go to UK, you go to the US, you go to Brazil, wherever. And this is in the beginning exciting because you produce a piece and then you want to be seen it. And but after a while, after a few years, you started. It's very repeating, and I'm not the type of person that wants to do this. I also realized through the touring, this is not what I want now. I was there at the time. I was at the end of my 30s when I was really successful with the stage pieces, and then I said, okay, so I spent the next 25 years with doing that, and this is what I said to myself, I don't like. And then there is this other kind of touring. You develop an idea, a concept, but in a place there, it looks different than in the place in Poland or in Holland because the location is different. And this is actually what I got really interested in.
So creating art there.
Yeah, because it's a concept, but the concept always, the outcome is different and it looks different because the location is so different to the other location in Germany. And this is what I actually got interested in. But this is more complicated because you have to stay there longer. You spend more time, 5, 6 weeks, sometimes maybe 2 weeks. It depends on the concept, So this is not, you cannot tour this like ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, when you tour a piece, you can be in 4 weekends per month, you can be there. But with such a touring concept, you're 6 weeks in UK, but then you need a break because you're tired, because it's hard work. You need at least 2 weeks to recover, So it's 2 months just for one project. You understand what I mean? So
it's a similar concept to artistic residency in a way.
Yeah. And so this is also doesn't really fit into this market. Again, we are back to the market, because the market works like, can you come this weekend? Can you come, And this was always the struggle because it happened even with bodies, You have to imagine we were on tour 7, 8 months a year, and because I said not more because it's a week of work, but then 2 months before you also go there for 3, 4 days to prepare. It's also quite, because it's also not quite the same touring. But after a while, it became, I mean, I passed it also on to my assistant. I have 3 assistants. They do actually bodies now. I have stopped to do bodies. Sometimes I do it at special occasions. But this is what I'm actually. I like more the second version of touring because also I get also input. You learn. You get to know people, colleagues, people from other fields, and you learn through this project.
Yes.
Whereas when you repeat the piece, you can have like a stage manager. You send the people with the piece, and that's it.
Yes.
In a way.
So it doesn't give you back the same or anything.
I mean, yeah. I mean, people like it. You have the applause and
the banquet and food.
Yeah, but you understand.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, it's okay, because you start to do this, to develop your career. But then you feel a bit empty also.
Yeah, I know this I never had this experience of being a dancer and touring like this, but I know a lot of friends that have been, and they say that this is just depleting, and from a dancer's perspective, depleting and just repetitive, and you kind of never get to really see the place that you actually visit. So you can be in China for, I don't know, 10 days, and you've just been in 5 places and you don't know anything about them because all you know is just the hotel room and then the theater space. Exactly, and then the airplane or whatever means of transportation.
It's work, you're upset, they promised us to give us a lift. The taxi came late. You wait there for an hour at the airport. You know, the heating is not working in your hotel room. The hotel room is not ready yet. You're tired. You're jet lagged because we flew to Brazil and we had to start the setup because we had a performance before at 4 o'clock in the morning. You arrive at 2 o'clock.
Whoa.
In Rio de Janeiro, and then in Fortaleza, and they take you to the venue to have a technical meeting at 4 in the morning, and then you go to bed at 6 in the morning, for example. This is the truth, and
Yeah, it can be really tough.
yeah.
And could you tell me about like this other way of touring, like the better way of touring, let's put it like this? Could you tell me a little bit like about the places? So you go to different places. I have a theory that it takes a certain amount of time to actually get a feeling of a place or to understand a little bit how things work in the place that you visit. I wonder, how long does it take for you to really have an experience of a place?
Actually, it comes because let's say the Borders project or another project. For example, I did this urbanistic work on a market in UK. So you go there and visit it for 3-4 days, but to understand the places when you come back actually the second time.
Okay.
And I stay here now we did this residency in 2 blocks. So we were there for 4 weeks and then we came back for another 3 weeks. But in these 4 weeks, you get to know the place because you get to know the people and you live there, which is totally different. And this is actually nice. It takes time, of course.
So not only you have to be there for some weeks, but then you have to come back. You have to digest the information and you have to come back, and then only then you understand the place a bit.
But on the other hand, I visited so many countries on a regular basis, so I can say, that I know a typical UK city in the Midlands or the big cities, how they work, or Germany,
Mm-hmm.
how it repeats, cities in Germany.
And how does it change this knowledge, like of having known these different places? How does it change your experience of being here?
Of being in Vienna?
In Vienna or in Austria?
Well, in the beginning, we talk now about decades,
Yeah, maybe then and now, I don't know.
I have to say that before, Vienna was very, seemed to me not so international and so developed. But now, over the years now, Vienna became really a very nice international city, And I appreciate also how safe the city is, and also how it grew the lifestyle, and in a good way.
So what do you like about Vienna?
I liked, as I said, I liked how the way it developed, because it was a bit quite back in the development. In particular, when I remember when I started to travel in the 80s, when I was in New York. New York blew my mind, it was like boom, and then you come back to Vienna, and this was really such a contrast,
Mm-hmm.
But then also, when I worked a lot in France in the late 80s and early 90s, and as a dancer, and this was really fantastic because you got paid like very nicely paid as a dancer, and you were respected, and recognized also as a profession,
Mm-hmm.
And then in Vienna, there was hardly any money, to do a project, and when you said you are a dancer in contemporary dance, what is this? Vienna was really way behind, and in these days, it developed a lot. In dance, there's still a lot needs to be improved. In that sense, it is really way behind. I have to mention this. Sorry. I don't know if you agree. I hope you agree. We can stop here now.
This podcast is funded by the Austrian Ministry of Culture, so I withhold my personal opinions. But all I can say is that I do find a lot of inspiration in countries like the Netherlands or Belgium or even Germany. Like I feel that there has been some developments, especially on the side of the dance that is really close to my heart, which involves actually movement. So in that side, I really do appreciate what's happening, for example, in the Netherlands at the moment. Yes. Just to divert this question away from me. But yes, of course. I feel the feeling that Vienna is very strong in certain ways, like performance art, representation of the body, for example. So how we can see the bodies from a different perspective, which is a little bit it's related directly to what you do, of course, but I would have wished, yes, that there would be more artists, or at least more support for artists who are also interested with movement. Because myself, I also I like Feldenkrais, like I said, I like contact improvisation as well, very much. I like breakdance, urban dance, and I feel like there could be more space, or at least more respect for those kind of art forms. But yes. Good. Maybe I would like to circle back a little bit and what initially attracted you to doing dance as opposed to becoming, I don't know, technician or a salesman or a director in a bank or any other profession? Like, what attracted you to actually working with the movement, and then maybe conversely, what attracted you to actually working with contact improvisation afterwards? That would be interesting.
Well, in the beginning there was a teacher, because teachers have a great influence on students in school, and the teacher at that time I had he was a sculptor, and he didn't earn enough as a sculptor, as an artist, so he went to school to teach. And he was a kind of like free spirit, and this was one of the teachers we liked, because he was not a normal teacher, that you have in mathematics or in Latin and so on. And he had an affinity to dance. He was not a mover. He liked to move, but he was not a trained mover, not a dancer. But we worked with photos and films, Super 8 at that time. I'm talking about the 70s. And this was really funny, for us to do photos in school, and do short films. And also the way he was thinking and the freedom he gave us, and this I liked very much, and this influenced me. And he the school, when I was 18, when I left school, I had been together with him, with the teacher, like the last 5 years. Yes, he came, for 5 years. And then I really felt that I have a lot of energy in me, and but I didn't really know where to direct this energy, and I thought it should be dance. But I come from the countryside, you know. There was even not a ballet school like this ballet school in one of the bigger cities in the countryside, you know. So there was nothing, and but at the same time, I felt also attracted to fine arts, but I didn't know much about performance art. So I directed myself into direction of dance, and then I found the conservatory in Vienna and did the audition, and I was taken. But looking back now, I would say that if I would have had more information on performance art, maybe I would have directed myself to the Academy of Fine Arts. But I'm talking about the late 70s. So there was also not much like performance art at that time. Was also in Vienna, not very, very much known, you know, and artists that did performance art, they were more like outsiders, you know, because I have a friend, he's almost the same age like me. He became a painter. He went to the academy. He did the audition at the academy, and he started painting, you know, and I went to the conservatory. So at that time, it was really on the edge. Will I arrive there or there, you know? And then I got into this dance area also because I had a lot of energy. I was really very energetic, and somehow it felt like I have to get rid of this. You know, I have to find like a channel to express myself with this energy.
Yeah, dance is a very good channel to do that, I feel like, because you can really like just, you know, direct the energy direct into space.
Yeah.
Right away,
and not. I mean, my medium is the body, but not into a word, not into a painting.
Yeah. Okay, and contact improvisation. Why?
Yeah, because
Or maybe first let's talk a little bit. What is contact improvisation? If you could just, I mean, I know, you know.
Yeah. How
Steve Paxton, Nancy Clark Smith.
How can we? It's actually, I see it always like this because I got to know Steve later, and also Nancy Clark Smith. I went a lot to the States also to study with them. I mean, for Steve Paxton, now we would say it's a movement technique, but for him, in these days, I'm talking about the 60s now. I mean, we always forget Paxton was a Cunningham dancer, and for Paxton, it was a breakup, and the 60s were the breakup in fine arts as well, and I think he was influenced by the breakup in fine arts to break up like his way of expressing himself. He wanted to get rid of his Cunningham technique, and he found a way to train his body in a different way, and this is what I liked. So he tried to get rid of the form, you know, because he learned nothing than shapes, you know, and to put his body or to shape his body into specific shapes, you know, that somebody or not somebody like Merce Cunningham developed, you know, and this is what I liked, you know, that it's actually the technique came out of someone that wants to give his body a freedom in moving, you know, in using the body, you know. This is for me my personal. I mean, I could do a more technical definition of contact improv, but maybe you say it in the end.
Yeah, more technical maybe would be that it's basically colliding two bodies, two or more bodies against each other in space, in a improvisational manner. So there are no codes of how, or originally there were no codes of how people should grab each other, or
But they developed,
they developed further because this evolved as a technique, but it's a technique of people dancing with each other by touching their bodies together. I guess this is as much as it is.
And for me, like, because Paxton needed it to open up his body, and I couldn't do ballet, I was very bad in ballet because I was so, as I said, energetic, but my muscle tone was too hard, too hard to, and contact helped me to get soft.
Oh, okay.
And then through contact, I could do ballet again. That was the funny thing, because in a way it balanced my tone.
So you did the work of Alexander technique, but before with contact.
With contact. I mean, I did also body-mind centering. I did a lot of workshops at that time as well. Also with Bonnie Cohen. I don't know. Is she still living? You know that, maybe?
Oh, I haven't done that much research.
But I would have heard.
But I know about body-mind centering. Maybe you tell us a little bit. It's a dancing with your liver technique.
So it helped me to do a very strong dance technique, and in particular ballet,
So something.
Although I didn't like it, but I thought I have to do it. I mean, I'm talking this is 80s. I thought I have to shape my body. I have to strengthen my body with a certain dance technique.
So in order to be a dancer, you need to know ballet. Basically, that was the paradigm.
Also for, at that time when you did an audition, even in France, there was always a ballet class in the beginning.
But nowadays it's also like this. I don't think it has changed much.
Yeah. I mean, the last 20 years I didn't do, 30 years I didn't do an audition, Yeah, sure, yeah.
I mean, like of course it prevailed for so long that even if you have many choreographers that do not maybe study so much their own movement language, still have very, very strong influences of those classical styles, like either modern dance styles or just strictly ballet. So like this is also what always attracted me, is if you can actually free yourself from those specific movement patterns and those codes exactly. Because like if you do ballet, if you have trained your body in ballet, your body is gonna automatically respond in certain ways. So even if you do,
did you work with ballet dancers?
Yes, and I did.
Can be a nightmare.
Look, I myself, I started my whole dance education, my whole dance experience with ballet. So I did ballet for 7 years, just ballet in Poland, and then I went to study contemporary dance, and then I was like, oh, that doesn't really work. It really didn't work. It took me that's why I also needed to do Feldenkrais in order to help myself to do the transition from doing ballet and being strict and stiff and jumpy and strong into actually being able to work on the floor and relax my body on the floor and be fast and be like more three-dimensional and fluid, soft. But then I realized, oh, that's another code that I don't want to do in my choreography. I don't want my choreography to look like a dance class.
And that's why, and now we are back to Steve Paxton,
Yes.
Because he didn't want that it becomes a code, because I talked to him once. He was not happy that later on contact became a code and also a kind of attitude, lifestyle.
Yes.
Because I know a community, Earth Dance. I got to know them because I went to there's a specific college in Amherst, Massachusetts. I went there there were special contact workshops for 2-3 weeks where all the crème de la crème came to teach. For example, Nancy. I mean, Steve never went there. He was always special. And and not far from there in Vermont, there was a community called Earth Dance, and they went there. They built houses, and actually the community developed out of the contact improv.
Wow.
So they started to live together, to grow their own food, and to live there somewhere in the outback, in the green. And they built an own house for jam sessions. I mean, in a way, it's very nice. It's like an utopia when you go there, But they're in the middle of nowhere, and they live it, They are an example, and for Steve, it was always like open up, not again becoming a code.
Yeah.
And when you see for me, his most famous piece is the Goldberg Variations.
Yes.
It's an improv. And this is so touching, because this is him, This is a dancer improvising to a music that he will have been following for many years, and he tries to understand the music and translate it into body and into expression and into movement. And this is this not coded way of expressing yourself.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's even Cunningham was kind of doing the same. He also kind of trying to break out from the codes that were already there, So it's like, but for now, for us, these are codes because we see it as very strict. But for him, probably it was like, I'm now breaking out of these norms. So probably over the years, it gets corrupted.
When you started, I saw a photo of when he was a Graham dancer,
Yes. Exactly.
And
Graham is another way of breaking out.
No, when you started to talk about Merce Cunningham, I saw the photo of him. Yeah. So, but Steve always he refused to do this, to make a code, because then later when he gave a workshop, and then I met people and said, I was at the workshop of Steve, and then he did Cunningham training, and they thought he will teach contact. It was really, because I think he was a bit also. he tried to provoke a little bit the community.
Yes. And could you tell me, question, is dancing about freedom, about breaking out of what is already there, established as a norm?
Yes. Because I was once I was once involved in a long discussion. I was artist in residence at the university in Phoenix, the ASU, Arizona State University, and at that time, the former director of the Spring Dance Festival, Spring Dance, in Utrecht, in the Netherlands. It was the famous dance festival in the early beginning of the 21st century, or late 90s, beginning, like all the new works, for example, Jérôme Bel, Xavier Leroy. And I was invited to show my pieces there. And he became the director of the ASU, of the Arizona State University, to change the teaching program. And there was a big uproar. And he invited me also to come. He invited Xavier, Thomas Lehmann, also Jérôme Bel, and he invited me. And to follow also this discussion, you're an artist in residence, you work with some students, you should develop a project and talk about yourself, give lectures, and there was a discussion. What is the education for a dancer? And I think in these days we can say, because ASU, what was the ASU? ASU was a university. You could learn Le Mans, Graham, Cunningham, classic. And then you are a dancer, and then you have to find the Le Mans technique. You have to find the company where you're a very well trained company dancer. But the question is this the goal? And with inviting Simon, he changed the program, and there was a discussion, what should they learn, And I think it is the same like in fine arts. You learn a technique, but then forget it.
That is already old.
Find your way
Yeah.
of expressing yourself. You need to learn tools, and technique, but then forget it.
So it's like a reference point.
Yeah, because the goal for Simon was, and I supported him, is to become an artist. The question was actually, is a dancer an artist, or is a dancer a dancer? And so when you are a dancer, you are not an artist. You understand? Because you know only Limon, Cunningham, you know all the technique. So as if a painter becomes a painter, and then he can only repaint Rembrandt or Mondrian.
Yeah, this is really a nice way of looking at it, because I have the feeling that this sometimes gets forgotten, or usually gets forgotten in the even contemporary dance universities, because you learn things from people who have been doing the things for a long time. So those things are old already, because this is a knowledge that's been there and it's not contemporary anymore. It's a knowledge that is already digested, that someone internalized, that someone codified, and you learn this. And then there is this ethos, usually at the university, at least from my experience, is that in order to be a good dancer, a good student, you have to execute well those things. But then you come in the field and you just have the dated knowledge, not the now knowledge, but the knowledge from a long time ago. So I think if you can think of it more as a reference point rather than a something to aspire to, this would be very freeing and very kind of motivating for people to learn better.
What would you say, like you were in Linz? What is the goal in the education program of Linz? To become a contemporary dancer or an artist?
Another hot take. Well, definitely a dancer. So at the time I was there, we were supposed to aspire to a certain version of a dancer. And this certain version has been dictated by certain people. And there's some people who were deeply failing at that. And those people, for example, were not able to, in the end, pass the education. Even though then they became successful.
Yeah,
Because a friend of mine, Sarah Lanner, at the moment, she is quite famous now in the intersection with fine arts, and she was in the same year as me.
But this is also what was part of the discussion, that very often the creative people, they have a hard time just to follow only the technique.
Yes.
But they are the creative minds, that they always, not always, but very often fail,
Yes.
But this is sad, I find it's really sad, that they get actually filtered out, in this.
Do you think it works in a similar way? You don't have to answer this question, but do you think it works in a similar way in the later stages of artistic career, when, for example, you're being faced with applying for funding or applying for a festival? Do you think there is also this kind of, let's say in the market, do you think there is, how to frame this question properly? Let's say there are creative people, there are gifted people, there are talented people, and there are people who do their job well. Let's say the more middle area people that do it very well, but they do it okay. And I wonder, and then there are those people that are really edgy and really creative and really special. So I'm wondering if nowadays the systems are designed for those people in the middle, or do they support also those special people?
I think the market always looks for the special ones.
Okay.
I mean, this was always, that's the funny thing also, that, there is this old type of schools, be a good dancer, learn the technique, but in fact, what makes you do a special artist is the speciality. So you should have something that the others don't have, because this is a way to uniform you. When you go into in a university like this, where you learn all the technique and you are perfect, then you're uniformed. you might have lost already your special things. And those who have a problem to step into this corset, they have still something special in them, and they might be even more successful in afterwards, in the market, because they are special. And we always look for the special, always, over all the years, because Graham developed the technique actually afterwards, more and more,
Question. Advice to young people who want to express themselves, people who maybe who want to become artists or make art. What would you tell them?
Yeah, you mean they are not dancers, like in general? Or
we can say both. If they are dancers or if they are not dancers. Let's maybe say first dancers.
So they already finished
They're on the path.
They're what?
They're on their path to becoming.
Okay. It's difficult. I mean, the main thing is for me, because I didn't do this when I was young, listen to yourself. Because there is always, there's a voice, there's an inner voice that you know very well, but sometimes you tell your voice to shut up and follow and learn, and don't listen to yourself. But I think this is not good. You always should listen to yourself. And even when you're still in education, or even when you're finished and you are outside, and you have to find what is special in you, and this is hard enough to find out, and because you look at the market, what is hip for the moment, but still it's what is me, what is me artistically. And this is the hard part in life, to find that.
Is there a way to train this inner ear?
Yeah, it should be part of the education in a good school.
Yeah.
Even you learn a strong technique, that there are teachers, they also tell you something else, or the same teacher.
And if I didn't have a school?
It's even better, maybe, because you have your dialogue with yourself,
Okay. Another thing, what is the next thing of Willi Dorner? What is the next step? What is the next step you're working on, or what we're gonna see next?
Yeah, I'm actually just in the moment. I develop a new project. It's still open which way, like which outcome. Because I did years ago, before smartphone, I did a video audio guide, which was very difficult with scientists and IT people at the time, where we only had the Nokia, with this little window where you could see 10-second videos, and video audio guide, and I like this work very much, but through the success of Bodies, all this work was covered up. I lost the track, and I don't know if I should do it, because these days or let's say not everybody, but many people do walks. It's very hip now, to do a walk, and I don't know if I should do a walk. I did this 17 years ago already, and yeah, I'm working on that. Which outcome it should take. It's right in the beginning, but also at the same time, my wife and me, we got money we do film, an architecture film.
Mhm.
We prepare an architecture film, which is very exciting for me because this is my next step in my development.
That's something last thing I wanna ask you about film. What is there a certain direction that you like in film? Is there and how do you feel about, because okay, you kind of grew up with the Super 8, and then you're talking about the Nokia little window. Do you have any nostalgia for those old technologies? You feel like you want to use them again, or
No,
or
I'm
you look in
happy.
the future?
Yeah, I mean it's also very hip,
Yeah.
Super 8, It's no, I mean I did several short films.
Yeah.
Short films like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Because I always, for example, one project was this piece about perception maze I mentioned
Mhm.
before. I asked filmmakers to take ideas out of the stage piece and translate it into film,
Mhm.
like the same idea as a visual. For example, this I like, like how the same idea can be formed or shaped in a different way, But then more and more I did several short films. I like that it gets translated into moving images. My last film I edited by myself because I'm thinking also very visually, and with this architecture film, it's a new step because it's not that we make a concept together, but this is exciting because also it's again it's the version of touring, where you have loads of time, and you can read and prepare and really be with one topic, because I think that dance is very fast.
Mhm.
You have an idea, you do the idea, ideally 2 months or even less because there's not so much money, and then it's gone, It's a very fast medium in a way. I mean, not as fast as doing producing a video, but in a sense, for me in art, it is also very fast
Mhm.
because for an artist, I think it is, and you can see it is very interesting to stay longer with one topic, and it can have different outcomes. But in dance, you can't do this,
And
because
so with video, you can, I mean, with a film, which is maybe a longer form than a video, you can spend a lot of time preparing, producing, planning,
you're
maybe.
much more in this topic,
Mhm.
And,
And it stays for longer because no
yes.
one can take it away because it's there, it's done.
Yeah, and also it's done, you don't have to you don't have to call a light technician and the other
Yes.
technician that dances, hey, we have a gig in blah blah blah,
Yeah.
can you come, it's tiring, this is
Yeah.
also another aspect we didn't talk about,
Wow, I wish we could talk for much longer. I find it's very interesting,
Mhm.
and I feel like I've been learning a lot. I hope our listeners also have been learning a lot. Thank you so much for this conversation.
Sure, thank you for inviting me.
And if you like what you're looking at, if you really, really like it, or if you just like it a little bit, click the like button and subscribe to our channel. This is gonna help us a lot. And tell your friends about this channel if you feel like you have learned or enjoyed it. And see you on the next one.